All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. So excited that you are here with me as I get ready to share with you some really important information. I'm going to share with you some things that I've learned over 28 years. And so here we go. Here we go. And so, what we're going to talk about is money and marriage. Oh, what a good topic right here, right? And today I want to share with you 10 tips for newlyweds and what will happen when you apply them. So stay tuned. If you're new to my channel and would like to get more, of my latest tips, then I would like to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing once a week strategies, tips to help you to have a strong marriage, one that will last a lifetime. So here you go, ready, 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 ready. Okay. Now, my name is Rachel Kelly, and I love helping newlyweds with purpose. Newlyweds that have a dream, they have something they want to go after. But a lot of times, what I'm finding is newlyweds who have purpose, who have a dream. What happens is their dream gets in the way. So, the big passion for me is helping you to be able to navigate that so that it won't destroy your marriage. Because I see a lot of entrepreneurs who go after their dream, they're pursuing purpose, and as a result, they go after their dream and they forget their family. And the purpose of going after your dream is so that you can that's your why. That's who you're going out to build, and to build it on a firm foundation, which is God's word. So, um, so let's talk about this for a minute. Getting married is, it's a happy and it's so exciting. Everybody's so excited for you, and yay, and they got bubbles blowing up. It's just such a great time, right? But there's one thing. I was doing some research on the other day too. Like, the biggest issue that causes people to get a divorce is money, is finances, right? So, right. And so what we want to do is we want to keep you on a positive energy. We want all of that happiness to keep going. But I'm telling you, if you don't talk about these money issues, what's going to happen is you're going to bring about a lot of stress. You're going to have a lot of animosity. So let's see if we can help you get through some of all that, right? Um, Ideally, you've already been having a lot of communication about your finances. Hopefully you have, but if you haven't, now is a time to do it. Prevention isn't a bad idea. It's actually a good idea to have these conversations. Excuse me. And it could be much nicer to talk about topics on money before it gets really tense, and you start arguing over little things. And so you don't want to do that. You want to be proactive in your conversations with money. Okay. So keep in mind, one of my favorite scriptures is Amos 3:3. It says, how can two walk together unless they agree? This scripture right here is so key and so important, especially when it comes to finances, right? So if you are not walking together and you have discord, if you're not walking in agreement, it's going to be really, really ugly. And all those dreams that you had, all those great things you wanted to pursue, they're not going to happen because you're not walking in agreement. Walking in agreement is the key to a successful marriage. So keep that in mind. Okay. So let's talk about number one. The one tip for starting out, one tip is and agree on some financial rules and goals. Okay. So will who's going to pay what bills? Are you going to switch? Who will, who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Who's going to check up on it? It's so important that you do that, right? And also, having a weekly meeting is just as important. You want to sit down and you want to have a weekly meeting, and you want to talk about, okay, these are the things that happen with the finance. The person that's paying the bills will tell you, like the other spouse, okay, this is what I paid and this is how that works. You want to do that every week, right? Um, and I think about, the word of God always says, the people without a vision perish. If you don't do that and you do have a vision, without knowing your finances, it's going to kind of keep you in a, like you'll always be confused and you're not surely where you're going to go. Okay. So sharing will actually help your vision to become more clear. Okay. Something that I just recently ran across, which I thought was pretty interesting, create two wills. Okay. I've always thought, okay, one will should be sufficient. But when you think about it, two would actually be the right thing to do because you're two individual people, right? So that was something that I recently found out, was to create two wills. Again, I'm not an attorney, so I can't, don't take my word as bond and truth, but I just discovered this. And so I just want to share it with you. Okay, so now this is a really important one. Put all your financial cards on the table. What happens is people get married to one another and they didn't tell their spouse about all of their debt. If you got a $20,000 student loan and you didn't share that with your spouse, that's kind of not fair. Well, it's not fair. But put all that on the table so that you guys can have a good start. So you guys, okay, you were honest, you were open. This is what I have. So later on, you're not having to try to justify, not telling the truth or not revealing the whole truth. And as you put on all your stuff on the table, ask your spouse to do the same thing. Ask them to, do you the same favor and put everything on the table. Now you guys are going into your marriage with a clean slate. You know what he has, he knows what you have. It's just a good way to go, right? Control your expenses is another tip. Okay. So with controlling your expenses, just because you're splitting like the rent and utility doesn't mean, you just get to just go spend your money foolishly. You still want to have some control on your money spending. You still got bills, you're still trying to save. One day you're going to have children and you're going to want to put them to college and you're going to have all these different things. So it's really, really important that you do that. And with the extra money, something that I learned early, well, I should say recently, it's so important to, people tell you this. Let's have a conversation about this for a minute. Okay. So when I was younger, I learned about the 72 rule. I learned about all these things. But what I didn't learn about was I should have went and found a mentor. I should have found somebody to walk me through that process. Because what happens is when we don't know all of the information, we have a tendency to do nothing. Okay. And so I didn't realize the importance of, start early for a savings account for your kids' college, or even if it's not their college, it could be just for, if they don't want to go to college, then it could just be something to help them to have a good start in their life. So just really, really want to encourage you, make sure you get with somebody, because what happens is we tend, again, I talked about it earlier, is we tend to do nothing. And nothing is the worst thing, because 20, 30 years, you'll look down the line and you'll start saying all of the, I wish, I should have. Oh, I wish I could, could do that over. And I don't want you to do that. So I really, really want to help set you up for a firm foundation. Okay, next one, number 5, talk about extended family financial issues. Okay, what does that mean, Rachel? What are you talking about? Okay, so your brother wants to borrow $1,000. How will you handle that as a couple? Or your sister wants to borrow some money. How does your spouse feel about that? And how do respective families feel about it? Like, had those conversations, because if you don't have those conversations and you get into this marriage and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to give my mother $1,000 for her roof, and your spouse is not in agreement with that, that can be a very ugly thing for both of you. So have those conversations. Next one, make sure you update your beneficiaries. So before you got married, you probably have like a life insurance policy, you have bank accounts, you have all those things, right? But what you want to do is make sure that you update the beneficiary on that stuff. Because why, you wouldn't want to get married to someone and then something happens to you and now they're kind of left alone trying to, you're supposed to take care of each other, right? So this is the way you do that. The next one is create a budget. You'll find out a lot about your partner's spending habits by creating a budget. A budget will set limits and expectations. Effective budget is an important part of a bright future. So it's really important if you set that budget, because what happens then is you have that budget, and if you you want to go buy something, you could look at the budget and you're like, oh, we don't have that right now, so we can't do that. Because what happens if you don't have a budget, you just have a tendency to just spend, spend, spend. So budget is really, really important. There is a, I love her name, Budgetista. She's on, you can find her on Amazon, her book. I'd recommend going and connecting with her. Great resources for creating a budget and just different financial things. I think you will be blessed by that. The next thing is, this is really important, guys. This is probably like my favorite right here. Okay. talk about, so a lot of cases, what happens is, I want to say that for last. Okay, let me do these other two and then I'll come back to it. Okay. Choose one person to be responsible for paying all the bills. We already talked about that, right? So then we'll go to decide on a limit of, for purchases that don't require collaboration. What does that mean? Basically, what that means is, okay, we'll agree that, you can spend $20 without having a conversation about it. Or you can spend $50 without us coming together, having a conversation about it. I mean, it shouldn't be so petty where you go get a candy bar or, some ice cream that you got to have a collaboration about that, unless you're doing it like every single day. Then that could become a problem because all that adds up. But make sure you're having those type of conversations. And so this is the one that I skipped. I want to come back to for a minute. And I'll give you a prime example. I knew that when my husband and I first got married, I knew that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. At the time, I had a $70,000 a year job, which I didn't care. I wanted to leave that job and I wanted to come home and help and raise my children. I didn't want anybody else raising them. I didn't want, I wanted them to have biblical principles. I wanted them to, be in a safe place. So I made a decision to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't think my husband really got me when I told him that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom until one day we had a conversation and it really, really was clear. So I just want to encourage you all, have that conversation, because more than likely, and I have most women following me, more than likely, you're going to want to be a stay-at-home mom. Make sure that you stress to your husband how important this is to you. And so maybe some things that you can do to be able to assist with the finances in that area. Like for me, I used to do like couponing and I did this, I did that. Then I started selling, affiliate programs online and, I started doing some eBay, I started doing Amazon. Now it's Facebook Marketplace. It's always something so that I could be at home and be there for my children. To me, my children are God first, my husband second. My children are near and dear to my heart. So I always want to be there for them, to be able to support them in their journey in life. So make sure you have that conversation, okay? So discussing your finances together while you're still newlyweds can be an excellent way to avoid unnecessary drama, right? So it might not be the most romantic thing, like, oh, honey, baby, but it's important. You can talk about it now or wait until later. But I tell you what, if you talk about it now, you won't regret waiting later to have that conversation. So, ladies, gentlemen, to summarize, what I wanted to say to you is, in order to start a marriage on a good path, a good foundation, to build a strong, solid foundation, it is so crucial that you take all of these things that I just shared with you and make them a part of your life. Make sure you have these conversations. And then if you need additional help, you can always reach out. If you got questions, hit me in my inbox. I don't care. I'm just here to serve you all. So if you like this video and found it helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel for weekly tips on how you can have a successful marriage. Subscribe button somewhere over there. And if you're needing some one-on-one coaching, feel free to book a one-on-one session with me. You will find the link to my calendar in the description box. And during the call, what we'll do is we'll do an assessment of where you are, what steps you need to take, and try to reach your goals in order to, and what strategies. You may not even need a strategy. You might just need somebody to hold you accountable for the goal that you said you're going to do. So again, to schedule an appointment, just be sure to click that in the description box. I want to say thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm working on still getting at that 8:30 time. God bless you and have a good night.